Dear students, today we are going to talk about cerebellum. Okay. First, look at this picture. See how this man walks. Okay, he is not able to walk properly. It means the gait is not normal. So the muscle, the tone of the muscle fiber, nothing is proper. He is not able to coordinate himself. Right? First video. Second video, look at this beautiful thing. See how nicely the baby eats. See the coordination. So usually people don't eat like that in this age, okay, but this baby eats very well coordinated. So this kind of movement nicely he picks and straight away he puts it into the mouth, okay. So this kind of coordination is very important. So this is called hand mouth coordination, okay. So the small little babies and all, they don't have it. If they take the food, they spread the food entire over the face, okay. Two things we have seen. So the coordination repeatedly I have been mentioning about that. That is your cerebellum. So here I am showing you the brainstem structure along with the cerebellum. So brainstem structure is midbrain, pons and medulla. You can see in the middle, both the sides you can see the cerebellar hemispheres. The two cerebellar hemispheres in the middle, it is united by the structure called vermis. Okay, that's all about the basic knowledge about the cerebellum. Cerebellum, you have few fissures. See, this is a real picture of the cerebral cortex with the cerebellum and brainstem. Here also you can see the cerebrum with sulci and gyri, but cerebellum nicely you can see some fine lines. Okay, here you will be having two fissures. Okay, one is the fissure prima, another one is a horizontal fissure. This, why this kind of fissures are there, you just with the help of the fissures you have to differentiate it into anterior lobe, posterior lobe, and if you go back you can see the posterolateral lobe also, okay, that is flocculonodular lobe. Okay, there is a fissure, posterolateral fissure. Beyond that you will be having the flocculonodular lobe. So these are all the divisions of the cerebellum. So as a clinician, we know not this much knowledge is needed for the divisions of the cerebellum, but the student should know there is something called as vermis in the midline, and both the sides you will be having the cerebellar hemispheres. Understood? Okay, if there is a problem with the vermis, then all the midline structures will be affected. So the patient will be losing his equilibrium. Okay, now we will see. This is another one lovely picture. Here you can see everything, which one is pons, which one is medulla, everything is seen clearly with the midbrain, and both the sides you are having the cerebellum. So brainstem is connected to the cerebellum. Brainstem is medulla. Medulla connected with the cerebellum via the inferior cerebellar peduncle. This peduncle is formed by the nerve fibers, okay. So many nerve fibers from the medulla, it is going into the cerebellum, okay, convey these are the fibers which convey the information from the medulla to the cerebellum, okay. These kind of tracts are compiled and it is called as peduncle. So that is called as inferior cerebellar peduncle. So if you want to name few tracts in the inferior cerebellar peduncle, you can very well mention the parts which is present in the medulla. For example, olive is there. So olive to the cerebellum, the tract is named as olivocerebellar, and the medulla is continuous down as the spinal cord. So you can mention the second tract as spinocerebellar. While mentioning the spinocerebellar, you should mention properly whether it is anterior spinocerebellar or posterior spinocerebellar. Posterior spinocerebellar only goes via the inferior cerebellar peduncle. So the student should know posterior spinocerebellar and cuneocerebellar, not the anterior spinocerebellar. Keep it in mind. So anterior spinocerebellar will not go via the inferior cerebellar peduncle. So only the student should opt cuneocerebellar and posterior spinocerebellar. Cuneocerebellar means only from the upper limb the sensations will be carried to the cerebellum via this tract. Second is posterior spinocerebellar, means only the lower limb and lower trunk part alone will be carried via the inferior cerebellar peduncle from the spinal cord to the cerebellum, right. So at least mention 3 tracts, okay. And then everybody knows throughout the brainstem you are having reticular activating system. So reticular activating system which keeps you awake. So if you shut down the reticular activating system, you will go asleep. Okay, permanent deactivation of the reticular activating system is called as coma. Okay, so reticular fibers are also here. So reticular system is also connected to the cerebellum. How it is connected to the cerebellum? If for example while sleeping you cannot be sitting straight, so you will be falling down. So this is a connection existing between the reticulum and the cerebellum. So if you want to have a coordinated movement, you should be awake. That is the reason reticulum should be always connected with the cerebellum. So the reticulocerebellar tract also you can write. So 4 tracts we have already written. Second, pons is connected to the cerebellum via the middle cerebellar peduncle. So middle cerebellar peduncle is connected from the pons to the cerebellum, and what are the fibers going via the middle cerebellar peduncle is the next question. So the important fibers which are going is only one thing, that is your cortex. It is coming from the cerebral cortex, cortico-ponto-cerebellar fiber. It is called as cortico-ponto-cerebellar fiber. It is going into the cerebellum, that is why it is called as afferent fiber. So no efferents from the cerebellum, nothing is coming out. So this is called afferent fiber. From the cerebellum it is coming here. Okay, so cortico-ponto-cerebellar. So it is coming from the cerebral cortex. Okay, it is a afferent fiber. Okay, so coming from the cerebrum. Okay, nothing is going from the cerebellum, right? So this is an important question. Middle cerebellar peduncle carries only one fiber, that is called as cortico-ponto-cerebellar. Finished. And that superior cerebellar peduncle connects the midbrain from the cerebellum, midbrain to the cerebellum. And a few important tracts already I told you. Anterior spinocerebellar is taking its pathway via this only. So it is very important one. Second, reticulocerebellar you can write very well, and that in the midbrain only you are having the red nucleus. So red nucleus to the cerebellum. Okay, rubrocerebellar. These 3 tracts at least you can keep it in mind and you can write. Okay, so these are the tracts which are passing via the cerebellar peduncles. So few MCQs are there in this. At least students should learn anterior spinocerebellar is taking its pathway via the superior cerebellar peduncle, olivocerebellar and cuneo-cerebellar via the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Middle carries only one big tract, that is called cortico-ponto-cerebellar. That's all. Finished. This is about the cerebellar peduncles. Then we will move on to the next thing. So this is a picture, nice picture. We have cut everything, but you can see the cerebellar peduncle, superior cerebellar peduncle, which is going from the this cut end, rounded structure called cut end is middle cerebellar peduncle. Over that you are having the superior cerebellar peduncle. This is a lovely picture of the cerebral cortex. Cerebellum is seen, medulla is seen, pons is also seen. Okay, so this is a picture of the cerebellum. Now look at this video. See how nicely the dolphins are swimming. Okay, nicely dives. So what is this for? This is for maintaining the equilibrium. So in cerebellum will be divided into archicerebellum, paleocerebellum and neocerebellum. Archicerebellum is the one which is initially ancient cerebellum. Okay, they said only for the lower mammals like fishes only they do have this kind of cerebellum nicely evaluated. So evolved, so that is called as archicerebellum. So the archicerebellum, with that only they maintain the nice equilibrium. So archicerebellum means it maintains the equilibrium. Already the students should know there are 4 nuclei in the cerebellum, that is nucleus dentatus, that is for the new cerebellum, and then the second is nucleus fastigius. Fastigius is only for this kind of maintaining the equilibrium. So fastigius nuclei is the nuclei of the archicerebellum, and the archicerebellum, the most important thing, look at this, how nicely she maintains the equilibrium. Okay, she comes and she stands properly. So this is called maintaining the equilibrium. That is mainly done by the archicerebellum. So archicerebellum is connected to another one important system, part of organ in the human body, that is your vestibular apparatus in the ear. So see, look at this. This is the vestibular apparatus of the ear. Whenever you go up the mountain, you will be having mountain sickness and vertigo and giddiness because of this only. So if there is any problem with the vestibular apparatus, definitely you will end up in vertigo or something. So and very important thing, when you see a particular thing, your eyeball will be moving towards that thing. It means that cerebellum is it has some connection with the frontal eye field. Okay, frontal eye field means it is present inside the cerebral cortex. It means whenever you travel in the train, your both eyes will be moving towards the same side. Look at this. Okay, this is called as conjugate eye movement. This is called conjugate eye movement. The center is present in the cerebral cortex. Okay, so this is called gaze center. So this cerebellum is having, it has some connection with this center. So that's why the rolling of eyeball is there. So this one and vestibular apparatus, everything is related. So archicerebellum is the oldest developed cerebellum. Number 2, it is related to the fastigial nucleus. Number 3, it is related to the vestibular apparatus also. So the fibers coming from or going to the vestibular apparatus from the cerebellum is called vestibulocerebellar tract. So this is the tract which is related to this cerebellum. And fourth, it is related to the gaze center also. Gaze center means this conjugate gaze, both the eyeballs are moving towards the same side. Okay, that is conjugate gaze center, and these are the important points about the archicerebellum. Next we'll move on. See this is the vertigo. So vertigo is related to the vestibular apparatus, and vestibular apparatus is related to the cerebellum. So this lady is not able to maintain her balance, equilibrium, that's why she falls down. So this is entirely about the archicerebellum. Whatever we saw, entirely things are related to the archicerebellum. Next we will move on to the paleocerebellum. Paleocerebellum is the next evolved thing. When the animals they catch the prey, they use their both hind limbs and the forelimbs. So when they catch, they have nice coordination, crude movement of the limbs. So only limbs. Look at this, how nicely they both coordinate and use their limbs. Okay, this is also kind of crude movement of the limbs. So this example can also be given. So second thing, so when you use your limbs, upper limbs and lower limbs properly, you need the help from the spinal cord, because spinal cord only takes the sensation and gives the sensation to the joints and muscles. So spinal cord is very important. So the tract which is related to the paleocerebellum is spinocerebellar tract. Initially when we read about the archicerebellum, the tract is vestibulocerebellar. Here when we use your limbs, that time which tract is related to the cerebellum? Spinal cord. So spinocerebellar. The nuclei are there. You said fastigious nuclei. Here you should talk about the two intermediate nuclei called nucleus embolus and globosus. Okay, emboliformis and globosus. These two nuclei only you have to concentrate. So you have told about paleocerebellum. Number 2, the nucleus related are emboliformis and globosus. Number 3, the tract related is spinocerebellar, and number 4 is the movement is crude movement of the limbs. There for the archicerebellum, the action is maintains the equilibrium. So 2 things we have completed. Okay, and look at this person. He is not able to walk properly. He is not a drunkard. First picture what we saw is the picture of the drunkard. So the cerebellum important role is it maintain the tone of the muscle fiber. Each fiber tone will be maintained by the cerebellum only. So he is not able to say if there is any problem with the cerebellum, the patient will not be able to maintain the tone. That's why he is swaying here and there. Okay, this is called ataxia. Okay, he is not able to stand properly. So this is ataxia. Okay, now the third thing I want to talk about the neocerebellum. New cerebellum already I showed you the baby nicely it eats. So the neocerebellum is related to the skillful voluntary movement. Okay, coordination of the voluntary movement is just putting your hand near the mouth, but skillful voluntary movement is exactly into the mouth. Okay, both are different. So coordinating the skillful voluntary movement is the action of neocerebellum. What is the nuclei of neocerebellum? Dentate nucleus. Okay, evolved only in the human beings you could see that. So dentate nucleus. And then next is action, I have told you this one. And what could be the tract related to that? Since we are all evolved, the tract is cortico, okay, cerebrocerebellar tract, or otherwise corticocerebellar tract. Okay, this is a very important tract. So it is coming from the cerebral cortex. So this is a tract. So first archicerebellum is said vestibulospinal cerebellar. Second is paleocerebellum spinocerebellar. Now for the neocerebellum, the tract should come from the cerebral cortex. This is called corticopontocerebellar or corticocerebellar tract. Okay, so this is a very important one. So neocerebellar also we have finished. Now applied anatomy. Applied anatomy, what will you write? If there is some problem with the archicerebellum, what do you get? The patient will experience, he will not be able to focus the things properly. So gaze, what will happen to the gaze? Patient will not be able to see the things properly, conjugate gaze won't be there, so that will be paralyzed. And if you ask the patient to stand straight, he will not be able to stand straight because your trunk equilibrium cannot be maintained, so swaying will be there and he will fall forward. So this is kind of truncal ataxia. And look at this baby, see, look at the eyes, this is oscillating, this is called nystagmus. Okay, so nystagmus, the patient will get nystagmus. So this is a symptom of or sign of the lesion in archicerebellum. Okay, nystagmus and truncal ataxia, these two are the symptoms of archicerebellum. Next is paleocerebellum. Paleocerebellum means movement of the limbs won't be possible. Okay, we'll see. Yeah, see, pendular knee jerk. When we tap on the knee joint, usually few swayings will be there, but for this patient, see how long he will be swaying his knee joint. Look at this, how long he is moving. That is called as pendular knee jerk. This is kind of jerk is called as pendular knee jerk. So this is a symptom of, this is limbs, no? So this is a symptom of paleocerebellum. Okay, number 3. Okay, neocerebellum. Neocerebellum means well developed. Well developed means what are the symptoms we expect? See, this is called diadochokinesia. Normally when you tap like this, it will be easy for us, but for the patients with cerebellar symptoms, they will not be able to perform it properly. So this is called as dysdiadochokinesia. They cannot do the movement properly. This is called as dysdiadochokinesia, number 1. Second thing, if you ask them their names, they cannot tell the names properly. They will be talking like a scanning speech or staccato speech. For example, what is your name? If I ask, they will be telling them ma ri ma ri ri, yeah, like that. So it means scanning speech. Maria, they cannot tell Maria, so they will be talking like a scanning speech. So dysarthria, second. Okay, muscle fibers are not maintaining the tone properly, so they will not be able to release the words properly. So dysarthria, and this is called dysdiadochokinesia. Number 3, dysmetria. See, he will not be able to perform this test properly. This is called finger nose test. Okay, touch the point and then he has to touch the nose. This is called finger nose test. He is not able to perform it properly. And then see, intentional tremors. If we ask the patient to touch something, while touching they will be having tremors. That is called intentional tremor. So finger nose tense, that is called dysmetria. Dysmetria means they are not able to measure the distance properly, touch the nose properly. So dysmetria. And next one is intentional tremor, and the last one is rebound phenomenon. Rebound phenomenon means I ask the patient to flex the upper limb and then put your hands palm against the forearm and then ask them to flex it again. Okay, if you release that, they should have the control normally, but if the cerebellar disorder, they will not be able to have control over that, and they will slap on their cheek. That is called rebound phenomenon. Okay, so these are the 5 symptoms. Again I repeat, one is dysarthria, not able to produce the words properly. Second is this one, dysmetria, and the third one is dysdiadochokinesia, what we saw here. This is called dysdiadochokinesia. Number 4, intentional tremor. If you ask them to touch something, that time only they will be having tremor, that is intentional tremor. Resting tremor is in Parkinsonism. So there is a very important MCQ, you should not confuse with that. And the fifth one is rebound phenomenon. See, these are the symptoms of the neocerebellum. Okay, so we have done with that. So archicerebellum, paleocerebellum, neocerebellum, what are the tracts involved, and what are the cerebellar nuclei involved, and then what are the functions and what are the clinical implications we have seen. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can ask me in the comment section. Thank you.